Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever and wherever you are, my friends. This is Alex getting ready to do another. Hey, what's up, Xtel? What's up, Riley? Getting ready to do another live stream for our development of the Celeste platformer. So just kind of getting warmed up this morning. Get my coffee. Excited to kind of move along here in today's progress. Let's see here. Let me figure out why my phone is buzzing. All right. Let's switch over here to our game scene and have a look. All right, since the last time that we left off, I now have quite a few sprites and things for this tile set that I'm working on. But more importantly, I want to come over here into the actual engine and talk about the changes that I've made off screen, which haven't been very much. I intentionally didn't do any engine work so that way we could do that stuff together. What I did do is change the player sprite, so we don't have the old character that we used to. Let's go ahead and just launch this project so we can take a look at it. Well, okay. I'm going to have to close that and relaunch it. So we're going to do that real fast. Give me just a second. Gdevelop sometimes, after you have, if you put your computer to sleep or leave your projects open, it'll do that pink texture thing. So especially generally only if it's in the cloud. So if that happens, that's what we're on. Okay. So over the weekend, I passed this game around and asked a few friends to test it out and tell me what they thought. The overall feedback was that the player is just a smidge too fast, and so we're gonna work on the player's speed. But I did want to show that I did work on a fine-tuning the jump controls just a little bit. You won't really be able to tell unless you had your hands on the actual project, probably. And then also this death animation, the fade in, fade out. Yeah, so the player's just a little too fast, and so we're gonna work on that before we get started on the extra features that I want to add to this development. I think overall, we're getting pretty close to being done with the platformer mechanics. And then it comes down to level design. So one of the things that I want to add to this template before releasing it is the randomly selected procedural levels. And what I mean is we'll have prefab levels that then bridge into each other. We want a little bit of camera movement, just a little bit of lerping with the player and the camera. That way our maps can be just a little bit bigger than the default size. I want to make sure that while we're running around and doing things that it feels right. The game feel doesn't quite match, especially with how fast our player is. We would need the camera to move a little bit, maybe add a little bit more space in each room, just to have some more terrain to jump to and other obstacles. But beyond that, so some level design, camera changes. I'm going to add a stamina wheel. I think I'm going to, rather than flashing the character like they do in Celeste, I think what I'd like to do is put a stamina circle, kind of like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, just as a visual cue for the player to see when you're about to run out of stamina and kind of make decisions based on that input as well. So there's going to be two versions of this. There's going to be the free template, which will include the extension for wall climbing, the previous player sprite, and awesome. And then a little bit of tile work. So I'm going to release the grass tiles and the dirt tiles. So you'll get access to this tile set right here, as well as the grass tile set. So these two right here. The other 6, which you can't see currently, are only going to be available in the purchase pack, as well as like the house and the other game assets. It'll be enough to get you started in a game like this, but it won't include all of my assets. Those will be in the paid version. So on itch, you'll be able to download whatever one you want. It'll be like, you know, here's the basic version for free, and then for $3.99 you can get the rest of the kit. Also, you could just actually it'll be $5.99 for the kit, and then if you just want the tiles, it'll be $3.99. An extra $1 for the tutorial template, maybe worth more. I don't know. But I don't really plan on it. I just want to make sure that the template is available. So the template will include everything that we talked about. It just won't come with those placeholder. It'll just be placeholder templates or tile sets beyond these two. So, anyways, what I want. So working, doing some work in the art department, I've been kind of considering what next to do. And I only want to make this game to the point where it is a feasible template that has everything that the platformer needs in it, and kind of leave off there. So player dialogue is really going to be important to this. The jump mechanics, the stamina system, and room generation and scene transitions. That's the other thing. We're going to be doing some scene transitions. So when we go into another map, we want the camera to kind of pan over or do some sort of like fade to black, fade in sort of thing in a way that makes sense for what we're doing. Yeah, so those are all the things that we need to get done. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. My brain is still booting up, so let me drink my coffee and figure out what's next. Okay. Game format, game setup, game idea. Let me shrink some of this stuff down just so. There we go. Oh, wait a minute. I saw something. Hello, delete those random pixels. All right. So in-game development. So on top of talking about what, like how I'm going to go about kind of designing these levels or how I'm going about with the art, I like to talk about the actual like user experience side of it, as well as like the game development pipeline for these sort of things. And in a traditional, I talked about this, I think, a little bit last stream, but I just want to bring this back into conversation. So, in Metroidvanias and in platformers, the general direction that we move in is to the right. And that's something that is pretty standard across the genre. It's just, it feels more organic to move in this direction. And there's a lot of reasons why we push this direction. And in a lot of Metroidvanias, the idea is that as you move through these rooms, there are rooms that you can't access because you have to go forward, and then the whole gimmick is to come back and then go back and go forward again. And that's pretty much the formula for how Metroidvanias develop their levels and tools and things that or the weapons and features of their character. And so what I'm thinking is in what we're building here in the Celeste platformer, what I want to release in the final template is a story where you begin at your house and something has happened at the local monastery, and you're called into action to go there. And so that's all the way over there, and you start in the grass. And as you leave the grass area, there is right here we have a bridge that I made. And we're going to do a kind of a bridge cinematic. One thing that isn't really done in Gdevelop very often is cinematic events inside of a game. And so I want to add a little bit of cinematic, or at least having story movement, like where you're not doing any input and there's the player moving around on their own. And so we're going to do a small cutscene where this bridge, there's kind of a storm going on outside at the beginning, to really signify like there's some sort of natural disaster happened. Maybe it caved in, maybe some, whatever. And so on your way to this objective as the player, you're going to interact with that person who wakes you up. They say, hey, I'll meet you there. Like, I'll wait for you across the bridge. I'll meet you on the other side. And so they leave after waking you up. You finally leave. They meet you over here. And there's this dialogue between you and this NPC where when you come out to the bridge, it breaks and you fall down into the tutorial. And so this is where we teach you the basic move controls in the game, and then using the natural, or in this case the inverse of what the natural movement order is, we're going backwards. So significantly, this implies in not only in the game development but in the genre that we're going against what we should be doing. And you see this in like Chasm and other games like that are side scrollers where you begin in the castle and then you move to meet the commander to go on this mission, and then you leave and then go back to the right. And so we're following that sort of mechanic where we want to imply that this is like side story. It's not as important to what is coming. And so using that sort of those standardized practices within the genre, we're able to elevate our game and incorporate movement that makes an impactful, or like just that it means something. You want to add as much game feel as you can to your projects within reason. And so one of the things that you want to do is look at the genre you're working in, seeing what other people do, and what has been done and standardized, and then convert those into actionable things in your game. So now with this idea, we're going to begin our tutorial at the house in our movement, and then we're going to learn about jumping and climbing right here. Now they do something similar in Celeste where you're moving at the very beginning. There's like a mudslide or something that breaks the road, or it's just like old. Actually, I think it's just like the bridge is so old that or the trail is so old that she has to like jump around it. And the very first thing that'll happen to you is as you cross the very first platform, a brick will fall on your head and kill you immediately. Like it's like, oh, welcome to our game. You're dead. So you go through the main event and you get to the old lady's house at the base of the mountain. You have a chat with her and she like laughs at you because it's crazy what you're doing. You've never even climbed anything before, let alone the Celeste Mountain. That's what they think you're crazy. Excuse me. And then immediately the very first jump puzzle you die immediately. It's awful. So what I'm thinking here is that when we go backwards using that previous mechanic we talked about, and then the bridge collapse, we fall, and there will be some platforms down here, and some death that could happen to you if you're not careful. And it'll help you jump to a point where you can climb the wall and get the rest of the way up. And so you'll go through those mechanics and you'll experience your first hardship right here. And so by the time you get to where you're going, you'll have all the information you need on how to play the game. So maybe you'll have to get to a platform that makes it so you jump and then dash to grab the wall, and then you can get out. And that teaches you your jump move, your dash move, and then we already have our movement. And that is quite literally all that there really is in our game. That's all that there really is in Celeste. I mean, there's other mechanics and levels that change factors and modulate the way that we do these base mechanics, but beyond that, there isn't really extra special moves and things like that. It's not like a Metroidvania where you get power-ups and it changes over time. You kind of start with everything you'll ever have at the very beginning, and it's about progressing through this story and about collecting all the things. So once we leave the grasslands, we'll move over into so this will be kind of the dirt tile set, maybe. And this, you know, we'll have the grass tile set here and the dirt tile set, and then from there we'll move into the plains, the fields, and there'll just be a little bit of maybe just environmental storytelling, letting us know kind of what's going on here. Something to just fill the space. You know, I want to add that really that really cinematic sort of water that we had going in the preview. So what I plan to do here is reflect all of the grass and make it really beautiful, but reflect everything and really set the tone that it's otherwise, beyond this like storm that's kind of happening right now, this place is a pretty, you know, set the scene. Where are we? Are we in the fields? Are we, you know, like where are we heading to? We're heading to the mountains or the forest or whatever. This is kind of our transitional scene. It's kind of it's the calm before the storm, so we want to implement maybe you're gonna come back here and see this sort of stuff again when it's not storming. So we really want to emphasize like this is the transition between our home and between the hard thing that we're gonna go do. And then once we pass that point, we're gonna be leading into the monastery. And so I did a little bit of character work and created a sister, and I'm working on some brother sprites as well, and gonna go with that monastery order church sort of format. And the player maybe is the courier, the person who carries the post, the packages, or maybe the player's parent was involved. But there is a clear difference between the size of the sprites, and that's to emphasize age. Here we have an old man who's sort of bent down in time, but he never was particularly big, and I'm going to make him just a smidge bigger now because of the changes I made with the other adults. And so he'll just get a slight size increase, and so we can just copy and lift. We're going to want that right there. There we go. And this will just give him just a little bit more height, and it won't take away from what we were doing. So now we've got a character that would be bigger, or could be bigger if they weren't old. And I just realized his white hair is no longer white, so we're gonna fix that too. There we go. All right. So I'm gonna do some more of that art off stream because that's more for the pack. But you're gonna be heading towards this monastery, and once we finally get there, I'm just gonna create another scene and hide this one. So once we finally get to this monastery, we'll have a nice bridge, and we'll end the water effect kind of here, and we'll go into seeing this cathedral style building. I have no idea what it's gonna look like yet, but there'll be a grand entrance of some sort. We'll go into it, and this is where we learn about this thing that happens. And so if maybe part of it has collapsed, knocking the library down into the catacombs, and so we've lost our lore, we've lost our work, or you know, so I don't know, whatever the story is to get to this point, it's going to have something to do with going down into the dungeons, the catacombs, and collecting the lore, the scrolls of paper and things that we've already designed. And so then from here, our adventure will be down and to the right. And then occasionally we'll go up to the right to then transfer over. And that's going to be the end of the project that I make. So we will get to the part where we have room transitions that are randomly generated. So every time you go in, you'll have a little bit of a different experience. But because of the game and the progression, it would just be us continuing to go downward and over. It would just continuously repeat itself in our version. Now, all the code will be there for you to implement other biomes, maybe other styles, but I think the very first part of the game will be you trying to collect the library, the books and the scrolls from the library that fell. And it's game logic, right? We're allowed to stretch the imagination and make it do what we want to do, and that's part of the adventure of a game. And so you don't really need all these things really in place yet while you're developing mechanics and everything else. So, but that's where the art's going, and there will be a couple different tile sets for the dungeons and a bunch of tiles, which we're going to be making in LDTK and importing into our project, because then we don't have to do any finagling, really. It'll be as easy as just changing a number, and we'll have all the levels that we want. So there's that. Without further delay, let's get into the actual design elements. Riley, you're considering following this tutorial because you want to learn Gdevelop. It is an entirely new landscape UI element for you, and that can be difficult. I am working on a tutorial series, just so you know, that is the crash course of how to use Gdevelop, and I'll go over all the tools and everything, but it really isn't that advanced. Unity is much more complicated, and I know that you normally program from the perspective of raw code, but in this particular environment and in the way that Gdevelop does things, it's less complicated than Unity or Godot in user experience, in my opinion. Most of these things you don't even need. Like, you don't need the group panel to be open most of the time. You don't need the properties panel to be open most of the time. Hell, you don't even need the layers to be open most of the time. The only thing that you're going to be doing really is adding objects and managing their behaviors and working in your event sheets. So it is like Scratch for big kids. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. It still does require, I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people would be like, "Oh, this isn't really programming." It's like, well, no, actually it is, because it's just visual programming. And so you need to still know how math works, and you still need to know the various ways of using that math to make your game do what you want to do, but that still requires coding experience and understanding code structure. They just make it easy to do. I would say that something like Game Maker is even easier out of the box to drag and drop and make your games work. But really, between Construct and Gdevelop, Gdevelop blows Construct out of the water, for one, which is depressing, being that Construct has been around for a decade, longer than that. I expected them to have evolved by now, but they really haven't. And Gdevelop just has a better interface. It's the same. They do fundamentally the same thing. It's just a better interface. So, anyways, we can show and hide our grid, and then the rest of it's pretty straightforward. You have a way to open your settings, and you have your main menu options. There's a lot of issues with Construct, but mostly Construct really restricts you without being a subscription. And Gdevelop is very generous. I'm going to be honest. And, I know that now I'm a Gdevelop advocate, but I don't want that to come across like I agree with everything that Gdevelop does. Um, I just want to make that sort of statement clear. I have my own opinions about these things, and I'm an opinionated person, but when it comes to quality and calling people out for like the good work that they do, I really think that Gdevelop is way ahead in the user experience department for 90% of the free programs out there. They are incredibly generous with their licenses. You can get 10 free cloud projects, 10 cloud projects for free. They host it and store all that information for you. And yeah, okay, we're talking about some pictures and some small megabytes of data, but the reality is they do that for you out of kindness. They don't have to do that. And they don't really restrict the amount of events you can have. There is no restriction. Where in Construct, you can only have 5 events. That means you can have 5 of these. 5 events. You have to program everything, or it's like 5 or 10 events. And that's all you get in your entire project for free. That really restricts you in your growth. And if you're trying to try something out, and you want to experience the engine for what it is, especially before you buy it, there should be a far more in-depth allowance for the usage of their tool. And in terms of Godot versus Gdevelop, they are entirely different platforming communities, platformed communities. Not like they're meant for platform games, but like they're entirely different platforms, right? And so Gdevelop excels at the HTML5 Newgrounds Classic browser-based gaming, and also very capable of producing AAA quality games. And in fact, there's quite a lot of AAA games that already use elements of Gdevelop within their engine, within the game. And maybe it's only a function, maybe it's a user interface or something like that. Because of its ease of use, though, they already do that. But then when we look at Godot, we're talking about an open source engine that, one, has been around longer, right? Significantly longer than Gdevelop, but also is a really robust open source alternative to like Unity. And they fundamentally started in, although it's a fantastic, they built a node based like object oriented programming node system. And Godot has perfected kind of its own thing. They've developed their own written language, where here we use a system based on JavaScript and HTML5. But the reality is, for like Godot, they have GDScript, and GDScript is it's like GameMaker script as well. It's a written language. It doesn't really matter what its base orientation is, but it's its own written language and lets you program in a traditional sense. And the major differences in those engines is one is a visual engine and one is not. I think in good time, Gdevelop does have the potential to match something like Godot, but in the same style that it currently is. It'll never reach the same potential, I don't think so, as Godot, because Godot is a source-based, like it's a coding language itself, which allows you to export into XYZ, and yeah, we can export our JS, but that's why Godot can release on other platforms beyond the desktop and mobile and a browser. So there's a lot of things going on there, but there will be a series for all of that. I want to stay kind of focused here on what we're doing right now, but the choice ultimately in the end, Riley, is yours. And I encourage you to explore your options and from that, start deciding what you want to do. Okay, so one of the things that I want to do here is reduce our movement speed. So we have a jump speed, and I want to lower our jump speed to 375. I want us to slow down there a little bit. We're gonna move our fall speed to 650, and our acceleration and deceleration is fine, but our max player speed is just too much. So let's Riley, here's the thing. I was talking to somebody else about this in the Gdevelop Discord, and they were like, "Hey, I think that the user their name was Onion, and Onion had asked in general chat, I love having these bursts of creativity. I love jumping into my project and like I have this amazing idea, but then I lose interest. How do I go about maintaining my interest in a project? Of course, joining a community and being a part of a community is like the number one best thing I could ever encourage you to do, and share your work and get feedback and just be with people who are inside of the same genre that you're in. Hang out with people that are interested in the same stuff that you're in. You're going to make friends, and you're going to have people who support you when life gets hard, let alone when programming gets hard, right? So being a part of a community is a big, and I'm an introvert in my normal life. And I don't normally spend a whole lot of time in front of people, but I don't mind being on camera. I don't mind being behind a microphone, and working this way. And I generally get along with people just fine. It's just my personal preference, right? But when I'm doing work in this industry, I really like being a part of these communities. And I found that that has helped me grow as an artist, as a human, just like expressing my ideas and getting feedback, and having that is super valuable. But beyond that, the next thing is, and arguably the most important thing, is what is your own definition of success, right? What is your perspective on, what is your goal, and what are you actually trying to do? And a lot of people, this person was saying, hey, I don't feel like I can release a game. I don't feel like I can actually finish a project. But in my experience, there's another way to look at this. Every time you pick up one of these projects, Riley, you're learning something new, right? And one of the things that you end up doing in life, I like to express that programming is a lot like getting a job. And when you're applying for a job, it's 100% failure until you get a job. And that can be emotionally distressing for people to try to wrap their head around, if that makes sense. So, like, when you're applying for a job and you're going to all these job interviews, it feels like you're failing because somebody else got the job, or they didn't call you back, or whatever. And it feels awful. And to go through that on a big scale and to do that constantly is hard to do, emotionally and everything. But we're told to do it, to continue to try to do it, to get a job, to be responsible, to do all these other things. So society tells you, hey, if you aren't having a job, you're not contributing to society. You're kind of a waste of space, and that's an awful thing to tell someone personally. But if you look at how are you treating yourself when you handle these projects? Are you saying, hey, I actually learned something, even though I didn't finish my game? Did you learn something? And if you did, is that enough for you? Can you take away the positive? I've done dozens of game jams, and I've never finished one of them. Not one. Because I got overworked, or because I didn't get to finish what I wanted to do, or XYZ. But did I fail that game jam? Not really, because every time I've done it, even if it's the same code over and over again, it's repetition. I understand it better. I've learned something. And in my opinion, if you can walk away with learning something, you haven't failed at all. You've grown significantly. You just got to accept that it may not have been what you originally thought it would be. And personally, in my own experience, I have learned more in failing what I was trying to do than by succeeding in doing it. And I find it comical in my head. It's so like, for me, it's like it's really wholesome, but like comically wholesome. It's like, I try to do something. I had this grand idea. I wanted to make this brilliant game, and I have all these crazy ideas, and I'm so jazzed about it. And then I do all this work, and it never comes to light. But then I learned so much more because of failing at doing what I wanted to do. But then I walk away and I'm like, wow, yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't finish that game, but I did some amazing art. I learned some more art. I learned some more programming, and I should feel good about that. And so should you. It's ridiculous that we punish ourselves because we didn't do exactly what we thought ourselves capable of, or we imagined something bigger than we could chew on. The next thing that I would suggest is making scalable projects that are within a solo developer's grasp of obtainability. Games take years to make, man. Years. And Gdevelop and tools like this make it feel like we prototype so much faster that we should be producing games faster. But a polished game, doesn't matter what engine it's on, could take years of your life. And so what I see a lot of too, Riley, is people also jumping into the game development scene wanting to instantly produce magic. And it doesn't work that way. We have to put in all this time. We have to decide on an engine and stick with it if we really want to make something. But right now, you're in the stage of not sure where you want to exist, not sure where you want to be. I would say wherever you're going, along the way, connect with the community that is involved in those projects. Hang out with people that are interested in that game engine. Have conversations with them and talk about how to do things. You're going to learn a lot from these people, the do's and don'ts, the ins and outs, and that's a good way to get started. You know, like here, following these tutorials or just hanging out with us in the live stream, eventually you're going to pick up enough that you can use the engine if you just watch. You know, but if you're a hands-on person, watch and follow along, whatever you got to do. But by hanging out and continuously practicing that, you'll naturally pick it up over time. Repetition is really key in a lot of these things. So, yeah, and what Xtel just said is really important. Whether you've never finished anything, never cared to, but now they're showing off their work to other people, being accountable for your work. The thing that happens when you join a community, you become more accountable for your work because those people are going to hold you accountable, especially as you like build your own fandom or like build a interest in your project. That was a better way of phrasing that. Fandom seems zealotry. Don't do that. That seems like obsessive behavior. Don't do that. But yeah, being accountable and having people who follow, who are following your project, they're interested in that and they're going to be like, hey man, what's going on? What did you do? You didn't post, like, how's the game going? And then you go, oh, well, I scrapped that project or I had a new idea. But for me, I have a lot of ideas and it's because I have ADHD that I can't sometimes get those down onto paper or I struggle with conveying those messages. And I find that by working in these community, this tight knit group, that they help keep me focused on that one project because I'm enthused about like sharing more about it. But sticking with those projects, like even with, I'm really proud of who I am as a person because I'm okay and comfortable with being like, yeah, I've got a disorder. It's totally fine. I've had it my whole life. But also it's made me who I am today, and that lack of focus has taught me more things in my life than anything else. I joined the gaming industry. I've worked as an industry professional in publishing, in community management, and things like that, and I have no education in this. It's because not really. I later on in my life got some education academically in user experience, but beyond that, I haven't gone to school. I haven't done any of that in my life. And I taught myself everything I know, or other people helped teach me what I know, I should really say. But I went about learning in my own way. And being able to work in the industry at that level, was a testament to like the things that I've learned. I've been a security officer for 8 years. I've been a community manager for video games. I've done voiceover for video games. I've done so much random things. I was a live streamer at one point. I used to teach people how to live stream. I played Counter-Strike semi-professionally and traveled part of the US and been to other places in the world like Africa and such, South Africa specifically, doing what I loved. And I've done all these things. And some people are like, wow, you move jobs a lot. But for me, it's like, no, I've had the 30 years of my life, I have had a lot of experience learning by just doing. Well, it's easier if you have an education, and some work does require a higher education, and so you can't just write off that. But there are some categories where it's about what you can do uh, practically, a practical experience. So when you go to school, you get theory. You learn in theory how to do a lot of things. Not all of it do you put into practical effort, but some of it you do. And as you grow as a person who works every day, you're gaining practical experience, hands-on experience. And in coding and programming and other things like that, it's about who can do this efficiently, because there's so many different ways to do a task in programming. They want to know, can you do this? Can you work in a team? Do you have the professional skills? So really working in the gaming industry is more about developing your personal and professional skills, becoming a more rounded person, than it is necessarily about the exact education you have. So take that for what you will. That is my opinion. Hopefully that gives you some foundation, but it's also my perspective. You don't have to share my perspective, and you don't have to agree with it. It's mine. So let that just be what it is. I don't know. Okay, this player feels quite a bit better now, actually. Oh yeah, that's good. Hey, Large Bolts, what's going on, man? Beautiful. Everything's good, man. Everything's good. Yeah, it's been a little bit. I took a little bit of a hiatus from YouTube as I was doing some upgrades to my office and catching up. Right now, but it's Mondays though. But I see therapy Tuesdays, or I think therapy Thursdays would probably be more flowing. But anyways, so Large Volts, what we're doing is I'm working on a Celeste platformer style template for Gdevelop, as well as working on an art tile set. So you can see the art. Well, I turned it off, but we can reapply the game art and let you see what we're working with. Helps if I start in the right area. There we go. And if you guys are interested, actually, I think that now would be a perfect time. I'm going to update the link and post it in Discord. So if you guys actually want to play the game as it currently is and feel the game feel, you are more than welcome to do that. I'm going to post it in Discord. It'll be in the announcements. No, it'll be in general. What we're gonna do is edit the video. We're gonna add it to the video link, actually. So it'll be in the announcement section, or the video section. Sorry, not general. I'm just gonna edit the video post I made earlier. There it is. Okay. So if you guys are interested in that, you can join the Discord, and it's under the video section. Of course, Riley. Enjoy your dinner, bud. All right. Okay, so now that I have updated that, and we have the wall jumping working, the wall climbing is working, the dashing is working. Let's see. I do want to start getting in some of the tile set. because I think it'd be cool to start seeing the game in action and developing levels based on what our idea is. We're almost to that point. I want to add another weapon that shoots, like a port that shoots arrows out. That isn't like in Celeste. I don't even know if there's objects like that. But Celeste also has like platforms that when you are grabbing onto them, so if you're climbing this platform and you're inside of it, have it move in the direction of its track. So we'll probably do some shifting platforms to add the momentum to your game, or like the feel, which means that we're gonna have to temper with our acceleration and deceleration, making sure that as we're building momentum as we're moving, we can add the momentum from the moving platform to our player to like slingshot ourselves across the map, to just get, you know, good jumps and things like that. One thing that Celeste has that we don't is an upward dash that allows us to like jump in the air and dash upwards. Something similar to, actually I can't even think of a game right now that has that jump, but we'll figure that out. We're going to move our debug system over to the right, and that way I can, if I press the plus button, I can kind of see the player state a little bit better. But I really do like the way that the jump is coming together. I think with the acceleration and deceleration, we have a really nice movement now. And for those of us that struggle with being old men, this should help. So, the water needs to be updated a little bit here. That way the player floats like they're supposed to, but I think that this is probably good enough. Feeling pretty positive about this. One thing I do want to work on is that yeah. Yeah. I'm glad. Snuck that in there for you, bud. Right. That's funny. Super funny. Let's see. What next? There's some bug fixes that we got to do. In terms of the dying, so like once you die, you can see it there. Our reflection stops working once we've died the first time. So I need to fix that. And there's a couple other things that could be fixed up. The dashes stop working after we've died. And that's just some minor programming stuff. All right. I think that we should be okay. So the big thing that I want to work on, right, is the transition between rooms. And so the camera transition, as well as layer generation. Just trying to think about how I want to go about doing that. So, welcome back, Riley. So, similarly to what we did in the previous system for oh goodness, the Vampire Survivor tutorial that I did, we're going to create some checks. So we're going to create a new sprite, and we're going to call this top checker. And we're going to import we're going to create a new sprite. It's going to be an 8x8 sprite, just like everything else. So we're going to resize that, and we're going to make this one an arbitrary color of green. So let's take our green, whatever the green color is. We have, that's blinding. And so we have our default. I always name my first animation default if it just has one animation. So top checker, and we could make 1 point and then check if the animation equals whatever. So there are a couple different ways we can go about this. We could, and I think just so that we don't make more than one object, it makes the most sense to create a variable, add a variable, and call it direction. And we're gonna make this a string, and at the very beginning, it's gonna have nothing in it. We don't need it to have a direction. And then what we can do is go back into here and just call this room checker or room direction. Room, I don't know. Room trigger. Room gen. I don't know. It's arbitrary. It really just, it doesn't really matter. So after we have this, we can name this one top. And then we can add more animations. So let's add another one and do the same thing we just did, 8, 8, and make this an arbitrary color of red. And so this can be right. That is not an 8x8 cube. You lie. That is a 64x64 cube. How did you get so big? There we go. Another one, we'll call this down. And it, like, again, we're going through and we're just creating an arbitrary color picker for each direction. Do blue. And then we'll do left. Get back here. An 8x8. And this, what, a yellow, maybe? Gold yellow, something like that. There we are. So now that we have a direction picker, we can add the room generator into a place where, so normally we would start at 0, 0, and this is where we need to open up our object panels. So we know that our height, right, if we put this at the very bottom of our camera, which is right here, it's roughly, it should be by 160. What did we do here? What happened? Oh, 180. That's right. Sorry. I was like, wait a minute. So it's 320 by 180. So what we can do is go to our 0, 0 location, right? And then we can set this to be minus 180, which is going to put us at the top of this room. So imagine that we're stacking blocks, right? So if I created another room at this location, which would be 0, 0, it would align perfectly with this level, right? So now we can change this and we can generate another one. And this one needs to be right on the edge of our level. So now whenever we make something, we need to set our room to be, let's turn on our grid. So we won't snap to grid unless we have our grid selected. So to keep everything nice and organized, we're just going to snap to grid. And we're going to bring in all of our objects. I'm just going to clean this up just a little bit. Let's see. Hey, Cage, what's going on? Welcome back, sir. All right, so let's move our respawn point. And this is going to be interesting. Okay, cool. So we're just going to leave that. And we're going to create another. So imagine now that we're working on this room, we need to move some stuff around. Hey man, we should play some StarCraft 2 sometime. I love StarCraft. What team do you play? It's all right if you're not great. It's been a long time since I played too. I know. I use the Celeste tag to put me in the game section, which I might actually consider undoing, um, so that I can be seen in everything. But I'd done that originally intentionally. Uh, but yeah, let's remove that so I can move into the general tab. I just saved that. Thanks for letting me know, Riley, because I forgot about it. Okay, so what I want to do is make sure that my head doesn't get bonked by these freaking spikes. And so we're going to change it. And we're going to do it that way. So now imagine that we have... There we go. So in this room, right? If we got rid of all of the spikes as it currently is, there is only an out at the top. And so we wouldn't need a room generation like this, because there's no way for us to leave to the right. But for the sake of doing this demonstration and also programming the rooms, we're going to open up the right panel. So we have an up and a right. So now what we need to do is go in here and change the animation to the right color for our own sanity. And we can set it so that if its animation is 2, it is a right room. So there's a couple different ways we can go about telling the program how to generate this. All right, that's fine. I'll figure that out in a second. Let's see. Not sure what that's about. I'm gonna XY 180. My camera must not be quite right. Oh, that's why, because there's 4 cut off on the bottom. There'll be 4 cut off on the top. No, that makes sense. No. Okay, we're good. It took me a second to figure out what was going on. It's because our canvas, because of that, we're always going to lose half of one of our pixels because we're using 8x8s. It's not by 4. Because our grid is 8x8. And so, yeah, it's not a full rounding, but this is fine because it knows to generate off of the origin point. And so because we're doing half of it, we'll be cutting off part of the top on this one rather than the bottom, just because of its location. Anyways, and that just has to do with our canvas sizing, make sure that we stay in a 16:9. So now turning off that grid, we have 2 rooms. We have room gen top and room gen right. So now in the direction pad, we can write the right direction, right? And we can create a top direction. And again, we can either set the direction based on the tile's animation, or vice versa, if depending on the direction will be the animation. It doesn't really matter. You can do it either way. However, the next thing that we want to do is make sure that we can actually leave this map appropriately. And to do that, we're going to show our grid again and make sure that we can make this jump. So we're going to preview it. If you guys are interested in trying out the mechanics of this game, it is linked to our Discord. So if you're interested in doing that, you can. It's in the announcements or the live stream video section of our Discord. But we changed the player's jump speed. Wow! I almost died. Okay, let's try that again. Alright, well. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. That was actually harder. That... Curse you, game! Curse you! Alright. So in this particular example, what we're gonna do is, oh, I just fell off the map. Okay, we need to make sure that this is on the base layer, and so is this one. I don't want any of our platforms to be on the player layer because we add a white outline. And so there we go, we fixed that. And so now what we can do is we can go into our external layouts. And this is where things get a little weird. And so what we want to do is start creating our layouts. So this is like a top room, and we would want to do top and what directions can we leave in. So if we go up, this is going to be a top with a right direction to leave. That's all we need to do on that one. And then what I also want to do is do a, we're just going to set that real quick, come back here, rename this, and this one's going to be a right with a top exit. All right. So going back to the game, we're going to close down our player controllers. We don't need that right now. The player finite state machine we don't need right now. The trap manager we don't need right now. We're just going to stay right here. So the next thing we need to do is rooms. So we're going to create a new event group. We're going to name this room. Select room gen, whatever. And we're going to link to an external script. And that will be room gen. No, I don't like that naming convention. This one will be room manager, just to keep the naming format. So we can go in here, add a new external event, call this the room manager. My whole brain shut off there for a second. All right. So in our room manager, selecting our game scene, so that way we can use all of the assets that are in that scene. Basically, whenever you create a layout or a room scene and you assign it to a room, it'll duplicate all the things that are in that scene. So you don't need to make them a global object if you're going to, let's say in the top right, for example, when we select the game scene, we're going to get access to those scene objects because it's an extension of that scene. It's like a different camera with a different layer pulled out of that scene. So that might be important to you. But considering that this is a top right room, we know that we're going to have an exit right here. And we want to make sure that this is a, oh, actually, this is a top with a right. Yeah. So as we go up, this will open, be the room that we generate after. So what we can do is, knowing that there's going to be some, if I put the, set up the grid and set it to an 8x8 grid, just like the other one is, and then show that grid, we can then go, okay, so we know that we're generating, we can go back to our previous room, game scene. We need to open up one, so specifically 3 over with like a 3 over opening. So we need to move this one over 1. This will be fine. And then we're going to paste this right there. And now we have that room opening. So now we've lined up that room. There's more things that we would need to do. We need to kind of, like, because of how we're generating this, it makes it a little bit difficult to line up certain rooms. So we need to build our room layout conventions to make sense, and it's going to take a while for us to get that part particularly polished and right. But this is a quick way of doing that. So in this particular room, we're going to block in this space, and we're going to make some sort of vertical death trap format. So let's see, a couple of these. Maybe there's a thick platform that we have to get up first, so we can't jump it, so we have to climb it to practice those climbing skills. And then immediately, to be annoying, I think the best thing that we could do is put spikes right above it, so we can just grab our spikies. Let's move over the animation to a double, and all we're going to do is flip it upside down. We don't need to generate any more directions. It can literally just rotate it. I should have done that originally. I had accidentally uploaded like left, right, down. But it's not necessary. In Engine, we could just rotate it. So here we go with that. We're going to duplicate this and make this room just kind of an obnoxious thing immediately to have to deal with. And I think what would make this fun is that you have to... The easy way to do it is jump left, then jump right. But we want to convince them that they should jump up here first. And one easy way to do that is present them with something that is dangerous. And so in this case, we're going to duplicate this and make it, you don't want to just jump right at the wall. And the thing with doing it this way is gamer sense is going to tell you that you should jump and avoid those. And with putting them right here, if you grab the wall, you will slide down if you accidentally don't touch anything. So we want to make it I just want to be annoying, as a developer. I don't want to make sure that this room is a struggle for you to go through. So this is kind of like how we would go about building our layouts, and then we would generate based on those inputs, right? So now we know that we need a right exit, but we haven't built the right rooms yet. So we want to get this generated first and then work on fleshing out the rest of this room. I don't feel like it's important for us to do right now, so I'm just going to grab this and close off this room. Give this a save, and then let's work on our room manager. So we also need some camera settings now. Before, I was running the camera settings inside of... Actually, we have no camera settings. So we're going to need to... I think that there is a transition for... an extension for room transitions. Room-based camera movement. Thank you. I want to say that it's this. Place room objects on scene. Select camera zoom limits, how fast the camera should move, and the visible buffer around each room. Run the move and zoom camera action on every frame, and move the trigger object player between rooms. And the camera will center on the room that contains the trigger object. Okay, that should be everything we need. So, now that we have that, we can close this. And let's go into our camera settings. Now, they said they want us to run the action of move and the zoom. So let's see where our camera... where that... The room object is the player. Oh, no, the trigger object is the room. Room object. Move and zoom camera to the room object that contains the trigger object. A room object, huh? We'll do almost instant. And I guess we're going to create a new room object. And it's just going to be a single sprite that we stretch over the room. So we're going to act like it's a background, if that makes sense. So we can add a new object. We're going to add a sprite. It could be a tiled sprite. It doesn't really matter. So if you want it to look nice, maybe you have an actual background that you're using, every single background, like a parallax or something, you could do that. We're going to use tiled sprite. Not that it really matters. We'll do an 8x8, and we're just going to create our own tile. So again, we already have, let's set this to 8x8, resize, and we'll do a nice little backdrop in our game. Maybe just make it like a dark gray for now so we can see everything else. And hit apply. And we're going to call this room camera. And now we are going to put it up here at the top, move it down to the base layer at -1. So it's going to always be behind everything. And now we can copy that and move it to our next room. And this would allow us to have different shape rooms, as we talked about previously. So this would allow us to then stretch this out if we wanted a longer room or a taller room, and it'll keep the camera within the bounds of this area. So now that we have this, right, now we want to say, because our camera won't move until we pass through that transition between the first room and the second room. So if we go back into our room, our camera scene, we can now set our room object to the room camera, and the max zoom is 1, the minimum zoom is 1, and the buffer, the border boundary, I don't know. I have no idea. 10? Arbitrary? I don't know. We're gonna give it a go and see what happens. So now the camera will always do that. I think. So let's. Okay, that's not great. That really messed with. Oh, because it's moving on the base layer. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to do that. So we want the room to be in a new layer. So we're gonna add a new layer and call it camera. And we're going to move this to the behind the base layer, and now we're going to move this to the camera layer. So the reason why this is important is we were tweening the entire base layer, but we only want to move the camera, if that makes sense. So our player will move with the camera, or should move with the camera, right? Okay. Oh, maybe it should just be the player layer. I don't know why I made that so complicated for myself. No, that didn't work either. Eh. Maybe there's that buffer? Right, and there's no can't. That's really interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I'm finding the way that this moves very interesting. That means that we need to move the water to the base layer as well. Let's do that again. All right, there we go. I fixed that original problem. Now let's do a buffer just to make sure we do this right. Let's do a buffer of 8 pixels because that's the size of our game. Actually, I think 4 pixels would be more appropriate because we have that half overlay. Okay, no. When I do the offset, it moves the way our player functions. If you guys can see that. I don't like that at all. We're not going to do any buffer zone. And our lerp speed, we're going to even move this down even farther to like 35 and see how we feel about that lerp. Should be nice and slow. There we go. All right. So now that we have that first part done, we have the Mario like run up top thing going on. We need to generate that room. So we have a basic function that is just running the room camera object and sliding it as necessary. Now to make sure that this is actually working the way it should, at least the way I think it should, we're going to add a new event and say if the player is within a distance between the room gen of, let's say, 20 to 50, let's say it's 180, 95, 90. It'll just be 90. So if we're within 90 pixels, which is half of our screen, and the room animation, or actually the room variable text direction is equal to top, then we want to transition, we want to create a top room. So we want to then create and we actually want to create a scene or import from an external layout. And so it would be the action is layout, create objects from an external layout. And we want to create this, and so we can select the layout as the top with the right direction. We could randomize and then select one of the top directions, and depending on what's in the room, it'll generate as it needs to. So we don't necessarily have to continuously name these. We can just name it top, and then decide if it has what directions we need. Yada yada yada. So the tile position is the roomgen dot x and roomgen dot y, and the z origin 0. And do this once. Actually, we don't need to do that. And then once we create, we need to delete the object of roomgen. So we're going to use it, and then we're going to delete it. And now, as I go up, we can't tell what's going on because it didn't transition. You kind of made it seem like it'd be a very easy transition. Hello? Do I need to add the behavior? Maybe there's behavior here. Camera. I don't know. We're gonna go take a look at the actual code again. Let me make sure that there's not anything room-based movement. So we have check if camera is moving, check if is zooming, move the camera object. Okay. This is the one thing that baffles me, is that the camera, oh, it's in camera, room-based movement. Okay. I was like, where did they put? Wait a minute. Where the heck is the... you were lying to me. Move the trigger object player between rooms, and the camera will center on the room that contains the trigger object. You are full of it. That is not what that did. Room changed. I didn't see no room change. What? Oh. Do I have to do that as well? I'm confused. What would be the point of that? Maybe we just got to move the camera then. So maybe after we do this, we move camera. Oh no, center the camera on the object. The object would be the room on layer of base. We just select a layer. Base layer. And the default camera. Oh, we're just going to do that once. I think that's what they want us to do. I'm not entirely sure on the instructions. But also, is that room even generating? And is it generating in the right location is another issue. So what we're going to do is check in our camera settings. The first thing that we want to do is at the beginning of the scene. We're going to zoom out at beginning, at BE, there. At beginning of the scene, we're going to change the camera zoom. And we're going to zoom to 0.5, just so that we can see what the heck is going on. What? Oh, the other camera is messing with the zoom. So the max zoom is 1, and the minimum zoom is 0.2 or 0.5. Is that going to allow us? I'm not sure how that's going to work exactly, but... Oh, no, it's not generating... Okay. First of all, I'm a tit. So what we need to do... I understand what's happening. The distance to the room generation needs to be... Right? So if it's only 90 pixels, that's 90 pixels from its location. So I would need to do 320 pixels, and that would be as soon as I get there. So we need to do 300 and... we need to do 400 pixels. Oh god, it got me killed. What the heck? Gentlemen, we have a problem. Whoa. Okay. I'm looking at, I'm trying to figure out a couple of things, so it probably looks crazy to you guys right now. I'm struggling to understand just a particular concept in... Okay, so I believe it's because the player isn't on the base layer. So, like, if I did the player layer, for example, right, doing the same logic that we currently are, also, I'm getting rid of this buffer because it's driving me nuts. Ah, see? That was actually important. So we need to tween the player too. So we have to do it for both of them. So we need to do this for the base layer, and then we just copy paste this and do it for the player layer. And this allows the buffer is still there. But this allows us to move up and down between our rooms. And so we're going to put this back to 0 on both of these. And then we're going to do a lerp of 0.35. And that should fix our room translation issue. There we go. Look at. Okay, I lied to myself. So the best way there is no way. I don't know if I can jump over this. Hold on. I think I'll have to jump really low. Oh, I made it. All right. Step 1, die to spikes. Step 2, cry. Okay. So now we have the top generated. Let's fix this a little bit. Let's lower that down. Honestly, I still feel like maybe we jump a little bit too high. Let's take a look at this. Okay. Hello. Oh, it's because I'm loading from the wrong scene. We need to make sure, go to your project if you have the same issue I do. If your things are generating on top of each other, it's because you haven't set your game scene, your main scene, as the start scene. You want to do that every time so that when you preview, you have a consistent experience. There we go. Okay, so every time you jump straight up, you die, which is fine. And then this one, we gotta... Okay, no. There we go. I almost died there. That was terrifying. All right. And yeah, and so now we have a room. We generated our first room. And so now we can check if there is one of these. So if this exists, do this again. So if we had another opening, we could start generating these rooms. All right. I'm trying to think on how to do this next part. We're developing kind of in stride in real time. So, yeah. All right. That works. Now we need some more stuff in this room and maybe add a collectible, right? Let's add our first collectible of the game and maybe work on the UI experience for that collectible. The other thing we want to do too is do the same thing for the right room. And now this one, because of our distance, this one is right. The right is always to the immediate right because we're generating from this point. So the pixel count should be half of the width. So at 320, that is 160. So at 160 pickles, at 160. At 360 pixels, we can generate the next column and then delete it all the same. And so we'll do the same thing down here on the room manager if we're below 160 and we're going to the direction of right. Then create the tile right top and delete the room gen associated with it. So I want to make sure, though, that when we go over here, well, first of all, we need to then build that level real fast. So let's do that. And I want to make sure that with my current code, we're not deleting the direction that we need to move in. So again, we always want to set up our grid. From now on, we can duplicate these rooms. So maybe what I will do is we're going to create a template room. And so we're just going to duplicate the right top based on the settings that we just did. And we're going to name the right top 2 as the template, room template. And that way we could just duplicate off of that one, and we're never going to use the room template beyond that point. And that will just set up our grid, except for I didn't set up the grid before I duplicated. So I didn't actually, I think I pressed cancel, which is brilliant, Alex, brilliant. Oh, no, I did. Oh, if the camera settings don't pass over, I will be a sad boy. All right. Anyways, so moving back over to the original room, we're going to move this out so I can keep our game scenes close together. Let's move these over. There we go. Hello. Thank you. Right top, room center. So we need to move up 5 and then go over. So go to the room top, right with a top opening. We need to go up 5 and then we can now go over. And immediately when you come out, that's just that. And in this room, we're going to introduce some floor death, like falling into a pit. So if you fail this jump, you will die. So there's that. And we know in this room that we're going to have an up exit. And so what I want to do for this up exit is check let's see here. Move this apart. Maybe do like a platform to rest on, and we'll do it on both sides. So maybe one side will have a collectible, which is going to be annoying to get to because that's how we do. You will die immediately if you hit that. So I'm trying to think of how we can redesign. You want to be able to fall from here. This should be a hazard that you have to pass. Then you have to leap over this and land on that platform. And so then we can clean this up and finish our level design. Something like this. And this will allow us to kind of maybe I want to make sure that the player has opportunities to use the abilities that they have. And so climbing is going to be important here. And then maybe we just have one ledge. We want you to dash jump. And then we'll add some spikes. So that way if you accidentally hit your head or something else equally awful, that's the wrong button. There we go. We can, we'll kill you. And then, like I said before, to make that jump hazardous, we can add some spikies. And then, more importantly, on the spikies, we get one that is going in the up direction. And to be extra obnoxious, just because I don't want people to grab it from the backside for some reason, we're going to flip this and just make it a general wall of death. Don't touch that. It's bad for you. So you have to jump here, possibly jump dash, jump dash, and land. And for now, that'll be fine. I just want to open up this room. And for demo purposes, because I don't have the fall death set up yet, I don't want to fall out of the map or I'll have to restart the level. And then also what we want to do is on each of these, add a new respawn zone. That's something I didn't add before. And so in the checkpoint, we want to make sure that there is a checkpoint every room to follow the Celeste format, unless we want to make each room kind of not yeah, anyway. We're going to do it like this. So let's take a peek here. We're going to get rid of this room gen because we don't need it for now. I don't want it to generate. It's going to try to generate that extra room, and I don't want to do that right now. And there's the respawn. And now what we want to do is when we die in our player script, we want to change where we go. So we're going to navigate to the checkpoint. But what we want to do, right, is instead of setting a global variable that's like checkpoint 1, checkpoint 2, checkpoint 3, which we might do in terms of like acts. So like if you start an act and maybe acts are maybe not an act, but like a chapter, that's a checkpoint. And so when you reload the game, you're only loading from those checkpoints. However, each room should have a checkpoint. So what we want to do is Weird. We want to nearest. Pick the nearest player. Pick the nearest checkpoint X, checkpoint Y. I think. Pick the nearest object. Let's see. No, pick the. I did that backwards. Pick the. I had it right the first time. Pick the checkpoint, and to the players, X, Y. And then move there and respawn. So now when we die in another room, we should navigate immediately to the nearest checkpoint. And there we go. We have a rudimentary save system. Huh. I didn't think about that. We're going to need a... trying to think of in my head how to navigate that, because yeah, if we die up here, no longer is that the nearest checkpoint, and we don't want to die that way. So I don't want to give every checkpoint. Let me think about this. I don't want to give every checkpoint. Okay. No, I know how we're gonna do this. We're gonna develop our game a little bit differently. So I'm gonna draw. I'm gonna go back to my go-to method of explaining things to you guys. What I'm thinking is this is perfect. Okay. So what I'm thinking, instead of having it, I'm going to break the game down into chapters, right? Or room chapters, almost. So each room will be multiple rooms. Each section will be multiple rooms. So think about this as we have a single section that has multiple rooms in it to navigate through, right? And that is one checkpoint. So if you die, to make this extra frustrating, you're not going to respawn in this room. You're going to respawn all the way back here. So you have to go through each loop to then make it to the next checkpoint. And then what we can do is then delete the old checkpoint or use checkpoint 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we just change a player variable based on the checkpoint. The other option is we set, when we go into a new room, if we wanted it on easy mode, we would then create a spawn point. But like in other games, like in some Metroidvanias, there's like benches and stuff to save. You have to go to one of those to save your progress. And so I'm thinking that that's kind of like in Mario, you have a flag that you break through to get like a midpoint in a long level. And we can do that as well. And we'll change it to like, checkpoint, checkpoint 1, checkpoint 2, checkpoint 3, and then delete them. And then when we go to a new area, create them 1, 2, 3, delete them 1, 2, 3, delete them, or something like that. So yeah, I'm gonna have to figure that out. But I think that rather than, I could also do a method that each checkpoint has a coordinate. Oh, that's a good point too, Riley. But if I do a checkpoint, we can set a variable inside of it that it's like an XY coordination, and if you are in this room, check that room's checkpoint and set the player's save point to that. So I think in the room manager, or in this case in the camera manager, when the player enters a new room, checkpoint, we're going to do the same logic we just did in the room, in the respawn area. So what we're going to do instead is when we go into a new area, for now, because I think we're going to change this with when the players entered a new room, pick the checkpoint nearest to the player, which will be in as soon as you enter the room, it'll be right there. And then we want to change your respawn location to that. So now, this is the easiest way to go about this. This isn't the way that I in the long run, but like if you're maybe there's a game setting called easy or relaxed, this would be the way that we do it to make it so it doesn't hurt people. Like it doesn't hurt their feelings. Too bad. So we want everybody, and also accessibility reasons. So for that mode, we'll use this method. And so we now need a respawn point for the player, and we can just go into the player, and we're going to define the behavior. So the variable is going to be add variable. This is things I'll fix later. One of these is from a script. One of them is my own. And we're going to name the variable checkpoint. Checkpoint X, checkpoint Y. And this is a number. And another one. Also a number. So whenever we enter a new room, we're going to get that particular XY location. So now back into our game event. So whenever we enter a room, pick the nearest checkpoint to the player and trigger this. And what we're going to trigger is set the player's variable number of X equal to checkpoint X. Right? Because it's only getting the checkpoint that's right next to us. And we can just copy and paste this and type in Y and then and then just change this to Y as well. So now we have a checkpoint location. Every time we enter a room, and now it knows that when we transition, it knows when to transition. It's built into that logic system, which is awesome. So now when we transition, we'll save that location. But when we die right now, it isn't going to take us to this location because we're not focused on that. So we need to go back to our player finite state machine. And when we die, we're not going to tween to the checkpoint anymore. We're going to tween to the player.x, the checkpoint X, sorry, and player check. Can we not do that? And the checkpoint Y. So let's do that real quick. So now when we enter this room, oh, what? Oh, first of all, we need to set this to center on each of them. Because we don't just want to go to the XY coordinate, because for us to respawn, we have a check that has to go inside of that box. And then when we go to 0, 0, that didn't work. So so we need to die and go there. That's still not working. Why is that not working? Just scrolling through here to make sure I didn't miss anything. And this is already something that we have done. Okay. What? When the player has entered a new room, pick the checkpoint that is nearest to the player's XY coordination. And okay. Let's go into that new room. All the way, please. And die. Not good. Why is that not working? Room manager. Players find that state machine. So when we die, that is terribly slow now. I'm trying to figure out why. I don't feel like this script is running. Okay, so that's fine. I'll fix the issue of where our orbs and things go, but that I should be, yeah. I am not transitioning to the right location. I have an idea. We're gonna use a collision when the player is in collision with the checkpoint. We're going to change the variable. That might need to be capitalized. I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna run this again. What is going on? Oh God. All right. Let's try this again. Now I've touched it. Aha. And then we just make it that you have no choice. You will have to touch this thing as you come in. There's nowhere else to go because if you have to take a rest here. So as long as we make it big enough that they have to touch it, then we have a cheap solution for our problem. I'm okay with that. Not the most ideal situation in terms of programming efficiency, but it solves our immediate issue. And we'll talk about what to do later about that situation. Oh, okay. 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 It would be nice. Damn it. Oh, jeez. All right, there we go. All right. And I fell off the map. All right, cool. So now on this one, we have one more thing to do. I forgot to do it. Is add the room camera, and we're gonna add this back to the base layer. it doesn't really matter. We found out how we do this. -1. We don't even need a camera layer anymore. Whoa, camera layer. And why didn't that launch from the proper game scene? I'm not sure. Okay. Okay, so we got some water reflection issues going on, which we'll fix in due time. We're just kind of... All right. All right. Good enough. We're gonna clean that up. That looked awful. We'll add the extra spikes, and we can start cleaning up this area. I feel like when we were in here, this was kind of distracting. Obviously, it won't really be there. We're gonna be hiding all of these collision blocks. Ah, jeez. Did I not set it to always launch from... Yeah, what the heck? Preview. Start this scene in all previews. There we go. I did it for the rendering part, but I didn't do it on... No! Oh, we almost died. All right. Yeah. I'm curious about what happens when we take the water and we do something like this. Because it's dynamic water? What's going to happen? Oh, that looks weird. Oh, I don't like that at all. Not a fan of that. Whoa, interesting. Hold on. Da 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 da. That's really interesting. All right. So in our player finite state machine, when we're dead, delete all of this stuff. Let's see. It's in the particle section, actually. When the player is dead, delete all the shadow clones linked to the player. Set ourselves to dead. Change the cutscene to 1. Go to our particle manager in our game scene events. And now what we want to do is delete on touch. Yes. No. Wait, what? Oh. Yeah, when the player's not dead. What the heck? Oh, of a touch. Yeah, okay. Okay. The touch distance needs to be 8. Um, what? Yo, boys, what happened? What did I just change? I'm not dead yet. Hello? We're gonna go back to the very original setting here. Oh, where's the reflection created, though? What layer? The player layer. No, we don't want that. We're gonna put it on the base layer. Now that we've changed some camera settings, we need to put that on the base layer. Rip? Maybe not. Is it because I have 2 water? Whoa, it is. Okay. Uh, okay. I need to fix the distance in which, like, how far away it is, right? So we have a distance to hide it effectively, right? It'll go on top of our player in an invert sort of way, but then there's a distance at how far it will draw, and we need to fix that. So let's create this again and take a look. So I'm not sure about this one. 10? Maybe it'll fade the closer it is to me? No. I'm not really sure what that does. If we're not dead and the players let's see. If the water? Water? There we go. Just looking up what our options are. So when the player is Oops. So we're going to copy this and say that when the player is not in the water, so when the player is not in the water, we want to once. Well, actually, no. I think we need to create this reflection constantly. So we need to, when we're not inside the water and we're not dead, create this reflection. And if we are dead, flash this thing once. I don't think I needed to do it the other way. Oh. Yeah, okay. So what we want to do is, yes, delete untouch. And then that should delete it and recreate it as we leave. Maybe not. The remove reflection is something I made, and it does not work. For those that are like, well, there's a remove reflection right there, guy. Yeah, it doesn't work yet. So now when I am in the water... Okay, but why doesn't it recreate when I'm not in the water? I'm not dead. Is it because we're on a different layer and we can't touch, technically? That might be it. I don't think so. No, see, yeah, that guy's... I think we just gotta delete the shadow clone. So when we're inside of water, and the player is not dead. Create this reflection all the time. If I'm dead, no, if I'm in the water, we're going to copy and paste this. If we are inside of the water and we're not dead, destroy the thing. But then when we get out of the water, I guess, do we have to create it one time? Maybe we'll change it to collide with the surface. Well, when we collide with the surface of the water, we're going to effectively delete what we have. And this is troubleshooting at its best. Okay. I'm really interested to why that particular thing is happening. You know what I mean? Like, what's that about? And if we do this once, just to make sure I understand how this works. Oh. Okay, so for one, we had a memory leak that I didn't know about, but now we're good. Eh? Okay. Okay. No, this is pretty straightforward. So, all right, we're gonna start this over again. So when the player is dead, right, we're going to we already have this create a reflection shadow clone of the player at this distance. When the player is not dead, we need to add a collides with the water, or is inside of water rather. Collision should work. So if there's a collision with water and we're not dead, then effectively nothing, right? If we're in collision with the water, we're already going to delete it. So when we're inside of water, it's gonna delete. So when we are outside of water, we want to do this once. So when we're not in water, what? My brain all of a sudden shut off. So when we're not inside of water, trigger this once. And honestly, I think that we can do this way. And when we are inside of water, I did that the wrong way. Okay, I think it's like this. Uh-oh. Hmm. I'm realizing that some things aren't as they should be. So every frame, we want to create every frame that we're not inside of water, create this. When we are inside of water, delete the shadow clone. I don't know why that was so hard for my brain to figure out, but there we go. But now we want it to disappear after a certain distance in the reflection. And I don't know if that's like a... I'm going to put on no anti-aliasing because I want to see it a little bit more raw. There we go. And then that fade distance, I don't know how I feel about that. I think I wanted to go a little bit farther. So let's take a peek here. So in our particle manager, let's just make sure that there isn't um We'll go less than 32 pixels. What? Uh, 60? What? Weird. Okay, so we need apparently just to I'm not sure what's going on there. Hello? The distance offset should not be 38 though. This is an 8x8 room, right? So if we go into our game scene and this is 8x8, the offset should only be 8. Why is it 32? Or 38? What? The distance? Oh, no, I know why. No, I know why. I know why. And then if we're below 80 pixels. So what's going on there is because of the origin of my player, I'm a little confused about whoa, what is going on there? Having a little bit of a confusion moment. That is all of the water. There's not any more or any less. In the particle manager, if the player's inside of the is not inside of the water, create a clone at this distance. If the players, I guess down here we can do if the player's distance down here. Maybe that's what my issue was. So if we're not in the water, do this. If we are a distance below that, do this. And if we're not, delete the shadow clone? Question mark? This part I'm not 100% about. There's this weird buffer area that the water just ends. And I'm not sure why. We're going to turn on in our game scene. We're going to go to our game scene and reopen the events for it. And at the very top, we're going to enable the hitbox collisions. And we're going to take a look to see if there's like a weird collision. What's up, yo boys? What's going on? Yeah, honestly, guys, I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. But that's okay. We're going to change this to like 0.25. I think on the lerp, we want it to lerp a little bit slower. And then let's disable the viewing boundary, and then going back to our distance. I just want to understand what's happening here. Now it works even less. Hmm. Oops. We need to modulate the distance between the player and the water. Um, I thought there's a way to like, uh, I'll have to figure that out later. I could have swore that there's a distance that you can make it disappear if it is above a certain amount as well. So not just delete on touch, but if it is further than a certain amount, just stop drawing it. Oh, I guess. I don't understand. If the player distance to the water is not less than 100, is not less than 60, this part I really don't understand. Also, sometimes, like if you fall and you don't jump in the water, you float like you're supposed to. This is whack. I don't understand this part or why that's not working. I might create my own reflection system just because I think this one is bunk, but maybe I'm wrong. So I'll have a friend help me out later. So we can move on from that for now. I'm not sure why that float doesn't work. It might be because of what layer the let's collapse that so we're not calling that multiple times. But also, why does sometimes that work and other times not? Let's just to make sure I'm not crazy, let's put this on the player layer. Okay, yeah, that doesn't make any difference. Is it the depth in which I'm inside of the water? Like, what's going on? Let's remove that and add more water and see if I'll float. Oh, okay, I did float there. Floated there too. Looks like I was just hitting the floor, and that's good to know. So now the question is, does that work when I... Okay, that does. I'm using my joystick right now if you guys can't hear it. I set up this configuration. This program does work on classic arcade sticks. Cool. I just wanted to make sure that none of my controls got messed up after. Blah. There we go. I fell out of I fell out of the map. All right. Let's see here. I almost just hit my face. All right. Let's work on that right room a little bit. In this room, we're going to lower this platform. Make it kind of seem like it extends downwards. And I think like some sort of vignette to let us know that it's a death fall might be good. So maybe like it gets progressively blacker. And we can do that with a tiled sprite. So in our, just to kind of, I want to sample this to see if it'll work. Let's turn off our grid. And let's very quickly make a, kind of tuning this up a little bit. Let's very quickly make a vignette. So in our game, I'm going to open up the tiles here. We're going to use a black, I believe. So we're going to use like 3 tiles to make this happen. We can delete that and add a new layer. There we go. And I think just to kind of show off what I'm going to do here, I'll add a couple of grass tiles. And then underneath, we want to do a sort of a circle. And I think I will actually just make a circle here. Something like this. And then we can delete everything that we don't need from that circle. And we want to make this like a tile set. And then we can just add that. And now we have a scalable tile. And then all we'd have to do is add black, right? And then we could dither if we wanted to between the foreground and the background. If I knew exactly what color it was going to be, it would be easier, but I don't. So we can add this vignette for now. And so we're going to make it a tileable sprite. So what we're going to do is copy all of this, file, export, export selected. We're going to do it without the background, so turn that off. And in the tile set, we're going to move backwards in our folders, back to the tile set. And this can be Vignette? Is it like that? I want to say it's Vignette. Like that. I could be wrong. But shadow thing. Shadow. We're just going to put shadow in there for now. And say open. And save. And save. Okay. So now inside of our game, we can add this shadow. We're going to call it a pit for now. Not that it really matters, because we're just kind of messing with it to see if it works. So level up, templates. Nope, wrong one. Oh, maybe it is lore. Sprite style set. What? Where did I just save that? Oh, asset packs. Yeah. Let me go make sure that it's actually where it should be. Let's go. That's fine. We'll ask it. It's going to be like, do you want to... Oh, no. It won't do that. Never mind. All right. I should have done this as a tileable sprite, so that way I could actually stretch this and it not look terrible. But that's fine. We're just going to use this big black bar to represent our current death if we touch that. So we can edit the camera and such to make sure that if or in collision with that, just die for now, which is a really cheap way of doing what we're trying to do, but it is what it is. So we're just going to stretch that down a little bit and just make sure that all of these extend to a place where it makes sense. Uh-huh. That makes no sense. Hey, Riley. No problem, man. I'll see you around, bud. Thanks for stopping in. We're going to kind of bring this up and really give it the idea that if you fall in here, you are going to die a terrible death. And what we can do is flip this upside down and get that extra black to cover this section for now. I should probably turn on my grid, but we're just filling it in. We're just kind of making it look like it belongs there. And that kind of tells you that you don't want to fall down there. So all we have to do is go back to our player finite state machine, and at any point in time in the game, if the player collides with so in our death script, if the player is in collision with the pit, we're going to kill the player. So we're going to player we're going to change the health point, and we're just going to do that once, and that'll trigger the death state. So when we are dead, trigger the death state. So it should shake all the same. So now when we go this way and we die, it'll treat it like it spikes. Wait a minute. Oh. And then what we should do is go to the pit and edit the collision mask and do a custom one and just pull this down because we want our player to fall into the pit. Maybe like there's a chance that I could have saved myself. So let's just lower it just a smidge. And with Coyote Time, maybe we give the players an opportunity to not die a terrible death. So here we go again. There we go. That feels much more organic to death, where you leave the screen and actually die now. So I shouldn't die. Yeah, there we go. Cool. And now to be annoying, we're going to make this more difficult. So let's make this room a little bit tougher. Maybe let's add some spikes. Let's add our grid again. And let's add some spikes right here. And that just makes it so that the player does have to jump here, and then they can jump over and then up. And if they need to, they can take a rest there, giving them a little bit of a jump start here. Now let's close that up, make sure that this is nice and tidy. Do the same thing with this on each side. Let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of this platform and make it so that way you have to jump to here to be, or either climb up here and jump. We can get rid of that. So you have to climb up this wall and then jump to here. And of course, in a brilliant fashion, we are going to raise the roof a little bit so you can't see it, and if you bonk your head, it's not that big of a deal. So jump here, and we're gonna grab some of these spikes. I'll just put them right here and change the animation to like there. And so if you jump too short, you'll die. And we'll move this over, flip it. And that way now you have to not only jump up here, so you jump from here, jump on the wall, and then have to jump over again. I'm running out of camera space. Let's see. Go to here, jump dash, jump, climb. Well, let's preview this room, actually, and go through it. So here we go again. Over, up, jump, jump dash. Jump, jump, jump dash. I died. Jump, jump, jump dash, jump, jump around. Okay. So obviously the camera doesn't quite go as far, and we can actually change that in this particular room by just increasing that camera space. So we can now leave the frame of our room. Ooh, almost died there. See? Now, there we go. And then we can make our rooms bigger. So they don't no longer have to be confined to just the size of our camera canvas. We can finally expand our maps. Because then we would just put the build cube in relation to whatever the top corner is if we're going like up or to the right or what have you. Yeah, so let's see. So once you jump up here, I want to make it so that you have to jump and rest, because if not, you'll fall. So we can put that there, make it jump there, and then the emphasize that jump, and the reason why you have to do it is we'll put spikes here. And then put some sort of fancy wall up here for you to grab something. Hmm. Maybe we can add some spikes here. Give it some extra depth. So from here you have to jump, dash, jump, and if you miss, of course, or because you bonk your head or something else, I need to make sure that I continuously add 4 blocks instead of 3. I keep trying to do 3, but it's actually 4 blocks. Oh, that sucked. Oh, I need to increase the I was like, why didn't that work? And what's really obnoxious is the color of our camera. So I'm going to replace that real quick just so we can see, because we can always hide this layer, right? So the gray is matching the gray of our normal background because I don't like developing on white. So for the intention of showing this sprite in action, we're gonna make it purple, and then we'll be able to see the purple backdrop a bit better. And so now we can kind of, oh, that's jump, dash, jump, oh! Jump, jump, dash, jump. That didn't work. All right, so we just gotta move this up just a smidge. I think it's just 1 square off. Again, not giving myself enough jump room. Maybe we'll do 2 just to give it extra headroom, just to make sure that our player isn't like, yeah, jumping at a weird angle or like bonking our head. Okay. No. Oh, God. No. Dang it. All right. Yeah. No. All right. We need to fix the collision with the spikes. So I think that the spikes need a little bit less of a collision box, at least on the doubles. I think that we should bring the collision point not because we want to bring it into the actual object. And so maybe we'll allow a little bit of overlap with spikes, but this will make it so that our game, we don't die when we jump through a platform like that because we're hitting our head on something that shouldn't be like that. So we're going to move this one in, just cover maybe the white and this base area. That might be a good idea. Now I'm gonna have to do this with every single one of them, which is kind of annoying. But I should have done this in the very beginning, probably. Close and apply, and we'll just see how that works for now. Particularly with these up facing ones. Ah. No. Damn it. Why is this game so hard? Oh, God. Ugh. Jump. There we go. Ugh. All right. I'm still learning the scale and jump height of our character. So let's go back over here. Oh, jeez. Oh. Oh, God. I gotta quit doing that. That's hard. No, no. Okay. And the reason why that's happening, though, I'm pretty sure, is that animation 1. No, that's the floor. let's check our player's animation. And let's lower it so that spikes can go like in his head a smidge and bring it back just a little bit, particularly on the jump animation. That way, while we're jumping, we can have a little bit of that game feel headroom. Let's do this again. Oh, Jesus. Eating spikes right to my mouth. All right. Oh, God. Oh. Damn it. All right, so we need another platform, possibly here. Possibly here. All right. I did it. And maybe this room has an exit to the right. Because that's cool. I like exits when they go to the right. Something to just signify that we are, in fact, going in that direction. Let's go back over here. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, yeah. All right, we need to bring the camera up like 2 so that we know that there's an exit here. And even, I think, actually move it over 1 whole square. And that way we have just enough camera transition in those lerps. There we go. I died. I fell out of the map. I'm not sure that I like that extra to the right, but I do like the extra going up. I think it's still a little far, but or maybe we'll add it like that. So you have to like jump across one more time. Come back over, jump, jump, jump. Oh, I guess I'm gonna go around for now. I'm gonna make it so you can't do that normally, but you'll have to fall. There we go. And honestly, now that that's there, we might not need to scale the camera as far. We don't want to break the reality of the like tile set, I guess, if that makes sense. Okay, yeah, I think that's much more clear about where we need to go. And then we can create the right direction, right? So now in this map, we would still be creating from this top point. We just need to make sure that there's a left entry allowed on the next map. And so long as we put it in the right location for this room, the next room to generate would be ideal. So what we have right now is a room that goes to the right, or goes up and goes nowhere. And then we have a room to the right. What happened here? There we go. Interesting. I'm gonna change these scene colors. I don't know why it hadn't changed in the editor, but now it does. So yeah, we're gonna add another scene here to the right. So we need a room generator, and we need to set that room generator to left or right. Sorry, right. And then we would need to build another right template. or another right room that would generate off of this one. And there's various checks and balances that we can do to put this into place, but this is just kind of where we're at. I want to spend some. I'm going to spend some time off stream building the rest of this, so that the next time when we do on Wednesday come back to this project, the room system will be the way that I wanted it to be, and then we'll go over those changes and how we go about building rooms that are different sizes and have different directions to go. And that way you don't have to pre-plan your entire map like a Metroidvania, for example. We want some roguelike elements in this, and I want some random generation. That way I don't have to make necessarily every single room in a way that in a pre-planned format. I want these rooms to kind of be randomly generated, which would add some replayability. And then if you don't want that, you could very easily just build this, especially with LDTK, in a perfect room by room format. But in this particular one, I do want to go over one, up one, and then over left to reconnect the top and bottom, so we can go in like a circle. But using the Metroidvania kind of format, I think that what we're gonna end up doing is actually making this one right here a drop down. So we'll actually be coming in from the right side, and the only way down will be right here. And then in the main game scene, I'll make it so that there's no way for you to jump this far, if that makes sense. Let's tween the camera a little bit. I want to see what happens when oh, nice. I do like that, actually. Oh my god. All right, so it's very oh jeez. Oh no. It's that extra jump that I have. I need to fix that too. Oh, I died. I'm about to rage in my own game. No. No. Come on. There we go. There we go. So then we'll start up here and then have to come over and down or whatever. And that way we have that true loop, and then that way we could put a lore piece or something up there. Yeah. Anyways. Okay. We're going to need to do a room generation here as well. And we'll make this direction a right. And we'll also change the animation, the appropriate color, which is red. And we'll do that here with the top one too, just to keep it consistent. Yeah, so we're actually entering this right room, this next one that we're about to do, at the same location. So we can actually duplicate this room and use it twice. And I think that's a great example of let's see, right. This one goes up, to the right, to the left. I would have to add, I can't reuse the same room, but we can add, make it very similar, I suppose. Ugh, stretch. My back hurts. Sorry, I'm thinking to myself, where'd all the spikes go? Oh, weird. I don't know what happened there. I wasn't paying attention. I deleted them all. Top right, right generation. Platform 1, 2, 3. Okay. Actually, yeah, I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to work on the room generation. This is to show you the basics of how to do room generation. In the full template and tutorial, it'll be there. When I actually make this video series, because we're going to be chopping it out of the live stream and editing this into a more digestible, shorter video format, I'll go in greater detail on how to build this system. So for now, this is good. The next thing I wanted to add is the stamina system. And so we're going to do that by adding a new object. We're going to go to the store and check out their interface or ready to use prefabs. And I'm going to see if any of them have a circle stamina system or like a circle that fills. And I don't think any of them do. The closest thing I can think of is a heart container that ticks down in the same sort of format as a template to use, because I've never made a circle stamina bar before, so I'm not exactly sure the best way to go about that. I actually haven't taken a look at any of the backgrounds. I'm curious what is there in parallax. I need to work on my parallax. I'm not very I haven't had a whole lot of experience. Someone has a Tamagotchi background? That's actually really smart. Whoever made this, you're a genius. Whoa, thank you for the subscription. I appreciate it. You terrified me. Kenzie, I really appreciate it. I am using Gdevelop 5. That was weird, right? What happened there? What was that? That was weird. Hey, don't worry about it. No, don't worry about it. It's totally fine. I'm gonna freak out. I can't even play my own game. Oh my goodness. Oh my lord. Get up there, guy. Thank you. Almost crushed my head. Alright. Climb. Climb. Alright. Alright. So, yeah, for now I'm just going to close this one up and close this one up just because we don't need... I'm not going to add any more right now. This is a good enough template for me for now. So, I'm going to add some more to this room later, but let's see. Stop this. Let's delete all this and go back to the other layer and delete this as well. There we go. All right. Hide that. Turn this back on. Okay. So one of the next big things that I want to do is start moving over the tile set. And while I can just use Pyxel edit, because when you use LDTK, at least in terms of using Gdevelop, although it's a great tiling format, you know, for your game, and you should, honestly, you really should use it. It exports basically just a picture. And then, so, for example, if I wanted to make this, we're just going to hide these for now, because We don't need them. So let's get rid of these tiles real fast. And if I just exported this image, file export selected, instead of the vignette, we can just go into our tile set and call this level our home, for example. And so now that we have this is in the same resolution as our game. And so essentially the same thing happens in LDTK. And what you do is you create your object, and then you put your tile set over it. So in this case, we're going to create a new sprite. We're just going to call this home for now. We're going to import the images, and we're just going to import that one image of home. Okay, so now we have the home background, right? And so if we were developing this a little bit differently, or rather in the final product using LDDK and everything else, what we can do is move this to, let's say, z order of 1, so it'll be above that. And then effectively all we do, right, is put a collision wherever we want our floor to be. And this is a crude example. We're not even using the grid, so let me put this back on the grid. There we go. And so, although this is kind of a crude example, because we have another level going on right here, it shows you effectively how you would go about building something in Gdevelop. So now what we would do, and what normally I do, is going into our base layer. We add one more, and we call it collision. And we put that below the base layer. And now we take all of our collision blocks for now. Did I select that right? I think so. I think that's everything. And we can move that to the collision layer. Oh, we need to move these guys to the collision layer as well. And then we hide the collision layer. And now we're running in our tile set. Pretty straightforward. You guys see what I'm saying? Of course, we have like things that shouldn't be there, like walls, invisible walls. But that is the fundamentals of how LDTK does map joining. But effectively, it's the technique is the same. So, if that's of interest to you, that's how that works. Yeah. So I am going to start building out the template for the bigger project, and fine-tuning everything. But for in terms of a Celeste, other than the stamina bar, I feel like we have finished the tutorial. I really don't feel like we need to add anything else, honestly. Like, if you think about as a tutorial, as just a base template for free, I don't think you need anything more than the dash, the wall climb, and the tutorial blocks, the collisions, and then you can add your own elements to it. So I think what I'm going to do is take my tile set and build it for Gdevelop using tileable sprites. And that way you can drag and drop and just use the collision based on a collision group rather than a collision object. Or you basically draw your own tile set. I do want to make a tile set editor in the future that actually just natively works. There is a tile set maker already, but it's an example on how to like save and load. But what I want to do is create a separate program that generates my levels, and then I import them into, like, it saves it as a PNG, and then instead of JSON, or it does save it in the JSON using all the sprites and images and everything, and then they just have native functionality. So, but yeah, so but that's just like that's how you use LDTK to build this sort of stuff. And then rather than putting grass, I don't ever put grass into my scenes. Like using LDTK, I always use Gdevelop because then I could put them in front of the player or whatever. So like in the final product, I want the player to walk behind the tree to give it the sense that the tree is closer to the screen than the house, and that's why it's so big. And then also I'm going to add physics to the seat so that you can like touch it and it'll sway a little bit. And that's just like animation and that general stuff. But yeah, so I am going to work on that, guys. I think I'm going to jump off a little bit earlier today. Normally I stream... Oh, hey, thank you for the subscription or the follow. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, without... I guess maybe I'll move into art if that's interesting to you guys. Otherwise, I don't really have anything else I want to do in the game engine today. I want to save that for Wednesday. And this week, by Friday, we should be done with this entire template and tutorial, and it should be free on itch. And then if you want to buy the full tile set that comes with the house and all of the extra game assets, you'll be able to get that for pretty cheap on itch as well. But I'm going to include the basic sprite template. So we're just going to delete that for now. And we're going to add back in the collision. And actually, we could put the collision above the base layer because we do actually want to see it. And I should have done that before. So let me Control Z and see this is how it should look. And then before you launch your game, just make sure that you hide the collision layer, or at the beginning of the scene, hide collision. And yeah, and I think that once I start adding those textures and elements, it'll really pop out what we're doing. So I think that, yeah, we're going to be done with game development, but we're going to move over into some art direction, and that way I can start planning some more of those assets. So currently, we have the scene assets here. You guys don't see is I made a bridge. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is pull that bridge up on Giezo and drag it over. Okay, there we go. So some of the other things that we've done already is make a bridge scene. I'm going to add some physics to this bridge and use some bone structures or spline to add some physics. And then you're going to be able to cut, it's going to break and it's going to split in half, and I'm going to use the physics to make it fall. And then you'll do your tutorial kind of in that hole that happens there. And so you're going to get the bridge asset, the grass asset, and the dirt assets in the free template. So hopefully that's of use to you. We're almost at 300 subs, guys. I really appreciate it. It's been a good month and a half of recording, maybe almost 2 months at this point. About a month and a half. So I appreciate the growth and you guys hanging out. And if you got any questions too, feel free to ask, please. Please. So, one thing I need to do that I haven't done, which I have been not wanting to do, is I'm actually using an 8x8 tile set, and this tree is massive. And because of Gdevelop, and if I wanted to have Gdevelop this be in the store, all assets have to be at the same tile set size. I can't, all the tile set has to be the same size. So for you to have this tree, we're going to have to save it individually as 8x8. And that's a lot of 8x8s. So you're going to have to like click, drop, click, click, click. I can't actually export it as a single sprite, or I would. In terms of Gdevelop, but for now, for itch, I have no problem doing that because I'm lazy. And also, yeah, just don't want to do that. So we're going to cut the tree out, and we're going to export this tree as selected, and this will be free. And the reason why we're doing this is so that I'm going to move it and then finish the tree so that we actually have all of the tree sprite. And so to do that, we're just going to minimize the extra, oops, we don't want the tree there. I'm going to minimize everything that we're not using and organize my layers. So we're going to remove that, we're going to remove that. We're going to take the tree out and paste it back in on a different layer, and that way we don't accidentally overdo some of our sprites. And I'm going to re-enable my thing here. I just realized that, let's go back to the tree layer, rather the one underneath it. I need to take a peek at, okay, so the roots and everything are just out of the picture, but what we want to do is clean that up, and we want to put them inside of an 8x8 as organized as we possibly can. So now we have the rest of our tree to build, and so what I'll probably end up doing is just kind of like rounding it out. You're not going to see the top of the tree, so it doesn't really matter. There's just no way for your player to actually do that. And then I think, yeah, we'll just add kind of a darker edge over here. I don't know. I can't draw trees, okay? So, yeah. This is the first time I've ever really drawn a tree, I'm going to be honest. Which is weird. I just normally don't develop scenes. I normally do characters and objects for a scene, not a tree. But I feel like if we do that, maybe we should black out the back of the tree like that. Actually, I think that adds a lot to the scene. And we're going to come back in and just add a little bit to the base of this trunk, because light would be passing the tree and lighting up some of it. So we can just kind of tune that part up, I think. Let's delete some squares, actually. Get rid of the jaggies, little crooked edges. That don't make sense. That doesn't make sense. It's not organic looking. We got to keep the bark look, so maybe something more like that. There we go. So that's the tree now. And I guess I'm just going to resave the tree so we can add it back into the game a little bit. And maybe we'll do a little bit of light. I don't know. I need to look at a tree, man. I've been locked up inside for too long. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, dude, I don't know. Not a tree guy. Not a tree guy. That'll do, though. Maybe add just like a little bit more shadow back here. It's not great. I'll take it. This is a leaf falling, by the way. And I think what I was going to do is add a particle generator that will drop leaves. But then I got to thinking about it. And trees don't generally drop leaves unless they're like, you know, spring. Or not spring, but the fall. But sometimes they do, you know, based on other things. But not generally. So I'm not sure about the whole leaf falling thing, but we'll keep it with the asset just in case. And now we have a rounded tree that it fits within the parameters of Gdevelop, as well as it's kind of just nice and organized, and we're not taking up really small squares. I mean, if any square that we can cut out, we will. but I think that that is as good as it's going to get for now. So with that being said, we can now come back and reselect all of our tree. And we're going to copy this out and paste it into our, we're going to do that tree. So let's see, we have the tree, and now we want to export the tile set. So what we're going to do is just grab each of these tiles, and then we're going to export them. One by one, and create this grid again inside of, and we're just going to do it, so just to save on time, we're going to do it with each piece of art that we're going to be using. So we'll start with these, and each one of these are going to end up needing to be a single scalable tile. So we're going to need to add a new folder and call this the tile set. Again, I'm trying to future-proof this for Gdevelop specifically. And we're going to do the tiled sprite. We're going to call this grass top right, or top left. And we're going to have to do this for each one. So 8 by 8. And then we'll go through each of these and add their specific tile. So yeah, so here we go. Grass top left. And we're going to go back into our tile set and go to grass. And we'll do grass top left. Grass top middle. Grass top right. And as you might have suspected, we're just going to keep this... actually, we're going to do middle left, rather. Middle left. Middle middle. Middle right. Normally, when you're developing a map or something, you would have a tile set, which would let you auto tile, but in Gdevelop, they do not have one currently. That's another project I'm working on. Yeah, so here we go. Top left. Choose a file. Choose from your device. Grass. Top left. There we go. And now that I'm thinking about it, we don't want this to be a tileable thing. This doesn't need to be tiled. So this one, so the edges, the corners, we don't want to be tileable, and the edges, or the middles, we do. So we're actually going to change that real quick. So this will actually be top middle. And the reason why, just to show you visibly why, if you guys haven't figured it out already, is we're going to replace this tile with the top middle. And the middle is the tileable one, the one that can continuously stretch. So if we hide our, first of all, if we get rid of our home and delete it from this, and then we move the collision blocks underneath the base layer, and honestly, we can create a background layer for now, and we're just going to move this to the background layer. So now we can see everything we're doing, and we can put back on our grid. And with the scalable one, see, we can just stretch it all the way across. Now, if we did that with a corner piece, we just continuously repeat that corner piece, and corners don't need to be like that. So now that we have that, we can go to grass top left, and then do and actually we just do top. We can do grass corners, and we'll go import, and then we'll go top left, add an animation, top right, add an animation, bottom left, bottom right. So adding the rest of these, we're going to go right, bottom left, bottom right, and add an animation. Oh, that's not what I meant. I meant to add a sprite. I wasn't paying attention. Which one is this one? Is this the right one? Bottom right, yeah. Bottom right. All right. So now that we have those corner pieces, right? So now I could grab this and drag it here if that was a corner piece. But we do know that this is a corner piece, and we know that it's animation 1. So now we can just flop that over without... Now we're only dealing with the middles. So this is no longer top left. This is now top middle. We need left middle, or we need middle left, middle right, and bottom middle. So now we can just duplicate these and go into top and say, we might as well do bottom middle, because it takes the least amount of words to replace. And so we'll do bottom middle. And apparently I thought I renamed that, but I guess not. Bottom middle, I renamed the tile. And so these should just be default. Oh, yeah, no, it's fine. Bottom middle, we're going to duplicate 2 more times. And this one will be grass middle left. Replace. And we could just rotate the block, because left and right are the same. There's literally no difference in the sprite. And so we could just flip it, but this guarantees that we don't mess this up. So we'll just do this and delete that. Got it. And we'll do the same thing for this other side, bottom right. Replace, or middle right, rather. Middle right. Remove the PNG, call it a day. So now when we are doing our tiling, we can just grab these corners or these edges like this and stretch them all the way up. And yeah, now we can just go through if we wanted to and add these everywhere that it makes sense. So there's a couple tiles that we don't have that are traditional to platformers, like the double middle, which is basically the 2 corner pieces. And so we have the, if we extended this by 1 and moved these out, which is what we would normally do, we can now take the, we want to keep this, and we're just going to double it up. And we're now going to take the corner pieces and the scaling walls and do this. And that's how you would go about making tiles like that in your using Gdevelop. So now when we run our game, we now have some graphics. Hello, what's happening? I'm not sure I understand. Oh, is it because I moved this camera? I need to add it back to the base layer and do it at a -2. Move the collisions above. Oh. Okay. So we need to put the background on the base layer, I'm pretty sure. Let's run this again. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought was happening. All right. So what we need to do, one, I'm going to add the corner piece. I haven't added that yet to the tile sets, but the bridge in these directions. And I'll explain that later. But for the collision layers to be viewable, what we need to do is actually use the base layer for... how are we going to do this? I guess we'll just put collisions on top. That's fine. Just make sure that you cover all of your art and then hide your collisions, right? And so things like this that are hanging down don't really work because of our tile set. We don't really have the trying to think of how to say this. We don't have like a background that really makes sense for these like walls that come down. You wouldn't build a grass area that looks like this, is what I'm trying to say. We would build it more flat and everything else. Now, if I use the dirt, maybe, which I plan to do. I just wanted to show you this is how we go about. So now we have the tile set grass, and we can move all of our grass into that tile set. And then we would make one for dirt. So we're going to do that. And rename this dirt. And do the exact same thing. And to make this easier on ourselves, we're just going to duplicate all of these and move them into the dirt section. So corners, middle, left, bottom, and top. And then now we'd have to do also, I want to fix this so it's top. Let's do corners, top, right, bottom, left, and let's just to keep the cardinal directions in order. And that way I know when I go to grab something exactly which one it is. So, re-enabling the collision layers. Let's go back into our tile set and now go to our dirt and let's go File, Export Selected. We're going to call this dirt top left. Top middle. And I realized that I hadn't imported the middles. I had saved them, but I didn't import them into the scalable objects yet because this dirt block we're not going to use. We're actually going to use this one from the dirt for both grass and dirt. And that's why I didn't do that yet. Did I save this one? No, I did not. Now I did. And this one is bottom left, bottom middle, bottom right. Okay, so now we can go to our corners and replace all of them. So we can just add a new sprite and go to top. We're just going to search top or dirt and then top to make this faster. So top left and delete and add sprite and top middle. or top right, rather. I forgot we're doing corners. And then delete. Now, bottom. Bottom left. And bottom right. And now we can work on those dirt ones if we wanted to. Which would be arguably better than the grass for the most part. I also have transition tiles. So we can add, like, underneath dirt transitions, grass transitions, and we can make sure that those tiles are in there so that people can use both of the tiles and interact between the two middles. And you can kind of see that if I open this up and go to right here, between dirt and grass, we have a transition tile. So I could do a top tile like that, and then do I need to move these two on the opposite side. There we go. And so we can do a transition like that. We have a transition between the sandstone rock format and the cobblestone that'll be coming. But this is the sort of transitions that we're going to be doing for now. And we're going to make those for these work no matter which way we turn them. So if I turn this in a 90-degree format, it'll still work on walls and everything else. So that'll be pretty easy and pretty straightforward, but that'll be added later. So we will have those transitions. We'll be using them at a later date. Yeah, so now that we got all of those saved, we don't need those anymore. And we can add our tree back. So we can grass. Well, let's finish our dirt, actually, so that I don't forget, because I will. I legitimately will. That's the bottom middle, Alex. Come on. Come on. Replace, and we're going to go dirt middle. So anything that has the word middle in it. So middle. Oh, I guess actually I can't do it that way. Dirt top middle is the first one. And so we're just going to duplicate that, paste it over. Dirt top middle. Dirt top right. Dirt top, or right middle, rather. Right, or middle right. Middle right. Middle, bottom middle. And we're going to edit this because I didn't copy this. We're going to remove the PNG. And then we're going to do the same thing on this one. So it'll be middle left. Oh, bottom left. That's not right. That's a corner piece. We need middle left. And then we're going to copy this as well. So now that we have our dirt tiles, I do want to add dirt middle. So we're going to go to, it'll be a tiled sprite, and it'll be another 8x8 because that's what everything is. And this will be the dirt middle. Oh, let's do just dirt middle. Middle. Sweet. So now that we got the dirt middle, this allows us as a tileable sprite to go underneath our dirt, or underneath our grass and whatever, and put that there. So now we can see dirt underneath our grass. That's fantastic. What the hey? Did I accidentally move the camera again? Camera, base layer. No? Wait, what happened? base layer collision. Sure, whatever. I like it's funny. I didn't realize that the player's hiding behind the reflection. So I need to make sure that we set all of the tile set stuff to like 1. We'll put the player at tile set 10. And then we will take the dirt and shrink it so that way it doesn't look like it's being we'll do it down by 1. I did actually like that. Just by 1. And that way it looks like I'm actually walking on that. So we're, instead of duplicating and mirroring the dirt, we're actually dropping it 1 down. And it makes it look like the player is walking on that. So that way we don't have to create any more walking scripts. Right? Okay. So now that we've got some like grass and things to work on, I feel like, or working anyways, we should probably, just for continuity's sake, work towards adding in the textures for the rest of the collisions so it doesn't look weird. But I feel like we've reached a point where it's just a matter of letting people color in the tiles that they want, you know, drag and drop and make the things that they want. So there's that. And I don't really want, the last video I made was a bit shorter than this one, and it got way more viewership. And viewership isn't, I mean, it is important, but it's not the end all be all. And so I do want to take a look at that and try and, I think it's because it says it's a tutorial, but then it's a live stream. So I think what I'm gonna end up doing is, again, editing all of this and turning it into a very light series to follow, digestible. In the meantime, what I'm gonna do is we're using the engine to draw the player sprite with an outline. We're gonna stop doing that. We're going to actually physically draw the outline so that this anti-aliasing stops. And it'll be much more sharper, like everything else is. And then we're gonna work on some background and mooding in the next one. But until Wednesday, guys. So tomorrow I'll be doing some preparation, but we'll have better room generation. We'll have a stamina system and a few more tiles and then we'll be ready to launch the project. So I'm hoping by the end of Wednesday to be completely done with the series and have the tiles, the free template available for everyone. So if you found this helpful, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know. Give the video a like. Thank you guys so much for stopping in. I stream Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. generally, sometimes with some flexibility like today. And I hope to catch you guys on the very next one. Cheers, and I'll catch you guys next time.